Coach, it's not the NCAA tournament. I know it's not the NIT, and you've been asked, what it means to get back to the postseason. But this is a big deal. How big of a deal is it for you guys to get into the postseason?
I think it's a big deal. I mean, there's only, if you look at it, there's 3 teams in the Valley that are playing the postseason. We were third in the net and third in Ken Palm and really any metrics that you look at. We were third in the Valley, so we felt like there was a chance for us to potentially, play in one of these events. We were hopeful, of course. You want the NCAA. We put everything into that. In Arch Madness, came up a possession short of having a chance to play for the championship there on Sunday, which was obviously really disappointing. And we felt like, and according to, some people we talked to, had we won that game, we had a better chance. We would have moved up from, 91, 92 into the potentially low 80s, and you got a much better shot to be in that NIT. But, we didn't get it done. And so it came down to, how do we want to handle this? And, for me with this group, it was really pretty simple. I talked to the seniors. And I just told them, I asked them if it was something they wanted to do. And we certainly, the only, stipulation I had was if we're going to do it, we had to go in and be all in and prepare to win. It wasn't going to be going in and, trying to, BS through practice and get there and screw around and hang out in Daytona for a couple of days. We were going to go and, if they're keeping score, which they are, and the games count, which they do, and there's a championship to be played for, then we need to go out there, play well, and try to win. And so talked to them when we were in St. Louis the day after Sunday morning, and then they met as a team when they got back to campus. And, when they shot me the message, said, hey, we're all in, we want to do it. I felt like for the seniors, we owed it to them, for sure. I felt like with that senior group, we owed them this opportunity. They've done so much for us. When you look at a guy like Cooper, a guy like Cam Henry, a guy like Calix, those guys were our 3 leading scorers last year. They all graduated. They all could have bounced and gone up a level. We lost 20 games. They all came back. The guys that came in, guys like Voss, guys like Cade, guys like Trent, believed in us. And these seniors have left an incredible roadmap for what we need to build on to, have a championship program here. The competitiveness, the stuff that they bring to the table on a day-to-day basis, the way they go about their business, their resiliency, their fortitude, those are great qualities. And I think you have the younger guys who, you can't beat postseason experience. There's a big difference in playing in the regular season when, man, we stunk it up on Saturday, let's get back to it and be better Wednesday, versus, hey, this is one and done, and you're playing for your life, and every game is a game 7. And so we got that experience in St. Louis, and now we get to have that experience here again, in Daytona. And then the last piece was, obviously, talked to Darren DeVries for a while at Drake, and, he's become a good friend, and we spoke at length about it. He talked about what a great experience that it was for the Drake Bulldogs last year to go and to have the opportunity to compete in the postseason, and what the value was. Dusty May at Florida Atlantic, same thing. And so that made me much more comfortable with, we're going to make this trip, we're going to go to the CBI. There's benefit to it as long as the guys were fully committed.
Kind of a wider scope view from a league-wide standpoint, how important is it for your team to be successful in this tournament, for Bradley to be successful starting tonight, for Drake to be successful? I know not every year is the same, and you can't just take it year by year, but it really felt like the 3 teams that are competing in the postseason, all 3 could have won a game in the NCAA tournament. How do you, as a coach in the league, help get those metrics to, even though maybe the metrics won't say, because you don't get a lot of quad 1 opportunities during the year like the Power 5s, but by an eyeball test, I think anybody that watched those 3 teams play this year felt like they could easily win a game or 2 or more in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think, the league, it's weird because, I do think the Valley gets a lot of respect. People understand how good it is, but I also think at the same time, it's really significantly underrated. You look at this year, I'd say you probably had really 5 teams that could have gotten a tournament and potentially won a game or more. Southern Illinois, Belmont were really good as well, and both those teams had the capabilities to get in there and do damage. And obviously, I think performing in the postseason, the way I always view years is, if you win a championship, a regular season championship, or you win, 20-plus games this level, you've had a great season. You cannot have a special season unless you perform in the postseason. If we all go in and go 1 and done or 2 and done, or and I know, Bradley unfortunately has to go on the road to Wisconsin, which is, obviously not probably the way it should be. Drake's got a tough matchup with Miami. We're going to CBI as the 1 seed, but you're representing the conference, and we think the Missouri Valley, and it's not what you want it to be. You don't want it to be the best 1-bid league in the history of basketball. That's not what anybody wants. We want to be a multi-bid league, but you got to perform in the postseason. It's how people judge you, and I'm not saying it's necessarily fair or right. As you said, when you're building your schedule, people tend to think, well, just go play, a bunch of quad 1 games. Well, the majority of high major teams are not going to schedule Missouri Valley teams because they're trying to maximize the amount of teams they get in the tournament, which I would do too if I'm in that situation. And the way you get your net the highest is to play other Power 5 quad 1 teams, or if you do play a team that's not a quad 1 Power 5, is to play a team in the 300s, because if it's a quad 4 game and you win, there's efficiency metrics and all that is, so it's not like, even if we wanted to go on the road and play, 5 Power 5s, you couldn't get that many games. And generally, you're not going to get anybody to come to the Holman Center, so your only hope is on a neutral floor, potentially in an MTE, to get a Power 5, and maybe there's be one other chance that a team will give you to come there if you're in a situation like us where you're a top 100 net and most of the Valley's in the top 150 net. So without getting into a whole long soliloquy about scheduling, it is not as straightforward for us to get the same amount of opportunities, as it was, which is why people don't expansion of the tournament and some different things, which I think would be good, because it is so hard for a mid-major to get in. I think there was 5 teams at larges that weren't, in the Power 6 conferences in this whole tournament. And every single team, there wasn't a at-large in the NIT that wasn't a Power 6. So, so I think when you look at those, there's got to be some sort of change to that. But to perform in the postseason, to compete for championships, for Drake to go in and win, I'll be a huge Drake fan Thursday night. I'm going to be a huge Bradley fan tonight. I'll have that up next to my LMU game because LMU is in the regional final. But I'll have Bradley on as well. I'll be watching both those games, and you pull for them because you know how good they are. Bradley's capable of winning multiple games in the NIT and getting to Las Vegas, and Drake's capable of playing in the second week as well. And we got to go and represent not just Indiana State and our program, but that we're going to represent the Missouri Valley and the CBI. That's why it's so important to me, that we go out and put our best foot forward.
Looking at your first opponent, because it's all you can look at, because there's no guarantees in the tournament, even being the 1 seed going up against a 16. What's impressed you about this opponent from the Big South? And UNC Asheville that went to the tournament, they gave them 3 really good games, took one of them, and very easily could have kept going in the conference tournament.
There's no question. The thing that jumps off the page is athleticism and how hard they play. They remind me a lot, going to bring up bad memories for people, but UMKC. They're a really physical team. They're an athletic team. They play exceptionally hard. They are towards the top of the country in forcing turnovers, and they're top 25 in the country in shot block rate. So they do a great job protecting the rim. They do a great job at taking you out of your stuff. They really deny well. They pressure well. They've got guards, particularly I think it's Gainey and Broadnax, that combined average about 28 points a game between the 2 of them. And then they got a number of other guys that are capable. They don't necessarily lean on them, but they got a bunch of the guys around those 2 that are capable scorers. And as you said, you look at their last 9 games, they won 7 of their last 9 coming to the tournament. UNC Asheville, which is, a team that's, people say could potentially, win a game in the tournament. It's going to give, I think it's Texas fits and what have you. They, as you said, they beat them in that stretch, and they lost by 4 in the conference tournament, a game that they led in the final 5 minutes. So we're going to have our hands full. It's a 1-16 game, but in the tournament, you don't know. They're a team that's won 17 games. They play exceptionally hard. They're playing their best basketball now. If you look at the net, I told the team this, really if they did it, they didn't want to rematch us, but the true 16 seed would be Southern Indiana, and we lost to them. So, and we've also lost to Duquesne. So we've lost to what should be really the 16 seed in the tournament and the 5 or 6 seed in this tournament already. So for us to take anything for granted, we can't. We got to prepare really well. We got to be prepared to play well, and we got to come out. And again, that was my only stipulation the whole tournament was, if we were going to do it, we were going to have great preparation here in Terre Haute. We were going to go there and certainly try to have some fun, but we're about business. We're about trying to win the tournament, and to win the tournament, you got to win one game. Just like we talked about Arch Madness, you want to win 4, but to win 4, you got to win 1, and you got to win another one. And so everything we can do to put our best foot forward, we expect to have to play as well as we played all year to be successful on Saturday morning.